Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of TD 202. In this episode, we will learn how to draw an object in isometric projection that consists of curved portions. Okay, so the drawing that we are going to look at today is right here in front of you. Now, this is a drawing of a tombstone. As you can see, the width or the thickness of the tombstone is 20 millimeters. The length is 70 millimeters. And the height is not given. Now, when trying to attempt these types of drawings, oftentimes there are some measurements that you have to work out. For example, the height of this tombstone. This curve is a part of a circle where the center is located here. Now, every circle has a diameter and every circle has a radius, which is half of the diameter. Now, for this curve, if you continue the curve, you will realize that it is a circle. Right? As a result of that, it contains a diameter and a radius. Now, the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle, or at any point on the circumference, which would mean from here to here is the radius, or from here to here is the radius, or from here to here, or from here to down here. Where I've highlighted, I don't know if you are seeing what I'm highlighting. Okay, so whatever the radius is, the diameter is twice that distance, which simply means from here to here is the diameter. From here to here is the diameter. We are not given the radius. However, we are given this measurement, which is the same measurement as this measurement. So since this measurement, which is the length, is 70 millimeters, and the diameter of the circle is the same span as this length, it simply means that the diameter is 70 millimeters. So since the diameter is 70 millimeters, the radius therefore has to be half of that measurement, which will be 35 millimeters. So that's basically how we go about achieving the measurement of, or the radius of this circle. Once you have achieved the radius of this circle, you can now achieve the missing measurement, meaning from this point to this point, which we have now established to be the radius. So once we have achieved that, we can now determine the height of this object, which is 60 millimeter, which spans from the base of the object to the center line of the circle, or the center point of the circle, that vertical distance there. So once we have added the radius to that distance, we can now determine the overall height, which is 60 plus 35, which will be equal to 95 millimeters. This applies to all the isometric drawings that appear this way, right? There's another thing before we start to proceed with this drawing that I want you all to recognize. We are accustomed to drawing isometric circles on an isometric square that is flat. like this. And we have the center lines, and we also have the pattern. Now we have to learn to visualize this square not sitting flat but also standing vertically in either direction. So now if you look, you will realize that it's the same square but turned in another direction. If you look at this one as well, it's the same thing. Let me do a sketch to show you the three planes that you can draw an isometric circle on. Now, as I've said before, we are accustomed to drawing the circle on this plane, flat. We have to learn to draw it on this plane. It's the same principle. You will draw the lines to separate the circle, or to dissect or split the square in 4 equal parts, rather. We will proceed to connect the longer diagonal, which is from here to here, not here to here. Once you have done this, using the shorter diagonals, now we can create the A pattern. So it is done sideways and not the way that we are accustomed, but it's the same result. Then you would use these points to now get your circle. There are the smaller arcs, and then these points to get the larger arcs. You can review the method of drawing the circle to reinforce exactly where the compass point is supposed to be placed. But do not let the way the circle is positioned distract you. Now let's get back to this drawing. You can realize that we are given the center of the circle, and as such we are able to find the ends or the square that the circle is going to be in by measuring, as shown in the previous video, from the center the radius going in either direction, north, south, east and west, and we would formulate the square. Let's get right into this drawing to illustrate this. Okay, so let's start. And I will start by drawing the base as usual. And the measurement here would be 20 millimeters, and the measurement here will be 70 millimeters. Then up to the center line you measure 60 millimeters. And we will draw our center lines, a center line going across. And we are going to measure the halfway mark on this center line, which is 35. we're going to draw another center line. Once we have done this, we are now ready to draw our circle. And we know that when we are drawing the circle, we have to draw the square that the circle is going to be in first, meaning the isometric square. This is the center of the circle, which would be the center of the square. And as I've explained before, the radius of this circle will be 35, because from the center to here is 35. The diameter would be 70. So we need a square where this is the center. So this is what we'll do. From the center, we're going to measure 35 in all four directions. We have already established the 35 mark, either side, meaning left and right. Now below, we are going to do this. And above, we are going to do this as well. Once we have done this, this will now be the square that the circle will be drawn in. So let's proceed. All right, please remember this. Once we have the square, we have to search for the longer diagonal. There are two diagonals within this square. Normally, within a true square, the diagonals are equal. But in an isometric square, which takes the shape of a rhombus, the diagonals are not equal. So you have from here to here, the opposite vertices of the square, that's a diagonal. And from here to here is another diagonal. Now, if you look, you realize that this diagonal is shorter than this diagonal. This is about 12 plus centimeters, or 120 plus millimeters. And this is about 7 millimeters. So as we can see, the longer diagonal is here. So don't let how the square is positioned, or the isometric square is positioned, don't let it distract you or get you confused. Now, when doing this, if it doesn't go through the center, as is the case for all isometric circles, if this diagonal doesn't pass through the center, it means you have to recheck your measurements. Once all these measurements are the same, which should be 70 millimeters, then it should pass through. And once your angles or your set square was positioned properly. Now, the shorter diagonal is here. So you're going to take any point. I'm going to use this point to connect it to the opposite center lines. The points where the center lines cut the square. That is going to form the A pattern. Here's my A pattern. Now, this point and this point is where the A pattern touches the line. And let's get our compass now. And you only need 2 arcs. Remember that 4 arcs are swung to make the isometric circle. 2 large arcs, 2 smaller arcs. Now, we don't need the arc down here. We only need the arc up here. You can scroll back in this video to view the shape and thus view the arcs that you will need. So you can go ahead and brighten this portion because you need it to be brightened. meaning the arc. It's very difficult to draw an arc and then brighten it later, because sometimes the slightest shift of the compass or changing of the radius will result in you getting a double line. So I've drawn this ahead of time, and I'm now going to open my compass to a wider radius, placing it on one of the opposite vertices to draw the next circle. So the circle is here, the arc, sorry, is here. I'll need the arc here, where the pencil is pointing. So I put it here, the opposite end. And that's it. What I'm doing here while I'm drawing the circle, I'm using this other hand to apply pressure so that I can brighten. The line could be brighter. Okay, so just to give you an idea of how the shape is coming along, or to allow you to see how the shape is coming along, I'm going to do some brightening of some of the parts that I know should be brightened. So this is the shape you have. And I also know that this portion is also supposed to be brightened, or this line. So there you have it so far. Now I need this exact arc, or these exact arcs at the back. Now, given the fact that the thickness of the tombstone that we're drawing is 20 millimeters, we have to send back all the points that are used to draw this arc, or these arcs, by 20 millimeters. Let's start with the first arc, then we deal with the second arc later. So the point that was used to draw the first arc, which is this arc, was this point. And since the second arc that is behind it is 20 millimeters away, given the thickness, we can now bring back the point that was used to draw this arc by 20 millimeters. So this is the point now that what we are going to use, the point right here. That's the point that we are going to use to draw the arc at the back. But we also need to know where the arc starts. We also need to know where the arc ends. So since this point was used to draw this arc starting here to here, we are also going to bring back the starting point and the ending point. This time we don't need to measure. Let me show you why. Once you open it to this radius, right, you see the radius? Same radius that you use for the first arc, you can use this, put it at the point, the new point that you have established, and just put it here. The line that you've brought back, 20 millimeters. Then you swing the arc and it will stop on the other line. It cannot pass here. It has to stop on this line as well. Let me swing it and get it out of the way so that you can see. My hand is blocking. Okay, so it starts here and end here. So you have to bring back this point and this point to know where the arc will start and end. Now let's continue with the other arc. This point was used to draw this arc. So you also need to bring back this point 20 millimeters in order to know where to place the compass to continue the arc. So you bring it back and you measure 20 millimeters. My 20 millimeters is here from this point that was used to draw this. Now, I am going to bring back this point at the end, at the edge, because that's where the other arc will stop. Now, this arc won't go all the way around like this one because you won't see behind the drawing, the picture in real life. So, I'm going to now open my compass to the radius that I used here, this radius, and place it at the new point, and it should continue to swing and it will stop. So this is what I did. And all you have to do now is to brighten this straight line, because it will stop on this line, then you brighten it straight line. Now, the only thing that is left for me to brighten is this line here. And the shape is complete. I hope you got the concept that was taught here today. Please re-watch the video so that you can reinforce your knowledge. Please also like the video to show that you understood and to give it some love. Share the video with your friends so that your friends can also get the knowledge, and subscribe for future videos. Have a wonderful day.